Welcome everyone to our city council meeting dated January 27, 2025 for the city of Sueur. At this time, I'm going to call our meeting to order and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council members, you're all given your packets over the weekend electronically and to possession. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. So thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. Councilmember Schluter seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to presentations. I believe the first presentation we have tonight is with our police chief, Sueur. Mr. Weber, you want to introduce her?
Very briefly, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Two presentations tonight. The first, Chief Sueur is here tonight to talk about the new police department act. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Sueur.
Thank you. I never like to be facing just one way. Good evening. Thank you, council members and plenty of community members today. As you can see, that will be our new patch for the police department. A couple of reasons that we decided to go this way. One was we wanted to rebrand the police department. As you all know, the police department has gone through a lot of change this last year. So we wanted to show that. That was one of the main things that we wanted to do. And we also were looking at the fact that our seal had changed and eventually we had to change it. So before we were told that we had to change it, we just got a little bit ahead of it. We threw it out there to the community and we received several entries back from the community on different ideas. I should say we had received 7 usable entries. And from that, we kind of came together with this. Obviously, you see it would be a more traditional patch. And the patch is what goes on our uniforms and on the squads. So that's why we went with the new seal, because it would be a new traditional, and we went with the star, just showing that that's our city. We are represented as a star. Even though it's a darker color, it is blue. It's not black anymore, and we did that for the river. So that is just putting our community together. For the future, we're going to be working on our new badge, and we're trying to figure out if we want to send it out there in the community again. And on that one, we won't go as traditional. We want to go with something different and very unique. And that's why we wanted to send it out to the community. And hopefully we can get more ideas, maybe from the Boy Scouts. That perhaps could be something good for them to do, something different to do. So little by little right now will be the patch, and we will have those starting with our new officer that starts, our new sergeant that starts next week. He's going to have in his uniform those, and then little by little we'll be changing all the uniforms and everything in the squads. So any questions at all?
Thank you, Chief Sueur. I like the look. It looks nice.
I hope you like it. I know that it is hard to think about changing the seal, but we knew it was going to come, that we had to do it. So we wanted to get ahead of it and just make it all together our own. And then the year that the police department was established there too. So
it looks nice. Appreciate you giving this presentation. Anybody have any questions? If not, thank you.
Okay, thank
Looking
you.
forward to seeing the new badges.
Maybe I'll even give you a patch.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to our annual planning commission update. Mr. Roby, would you like to introduce Mr. Crowman for us?
I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As most council members who have been here for a period of time will know, the city code specifies that annually the planning commission shall deliver a report to the city council on the planning commission's activities for the prior year. Mr. Newell Krogman is here tonight. He serves as the chair of the planning commission, and he is here to officially deliver that report. The text of that report is available in the agenda packets, and I just will allow Mr. Krogman to share his thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The planning commission last year had 5 members. Going back a few years before that, we used to supposedly have 7, but people weren't showing up and we were having a problem with the quorum. Therefore, we could not conduct business. So the city council changed the ordinance, and now we have a 5-member commission. I'm the chair. Last year, I will be, this year, was recently reelected. Autumn Redowins, Colleen Johnson, Terry Johnson, and Chris Roder are the other members, and they've all been very faithful in serving you and this community as members of that commission. I apologize in a way for the report that's in your packet and the others here that might have a copy of it. We've gotten into the acronym game, unfortunately. If you want to know what a CUP is, or a PUD, or an FOTC, you need me to tell you that tonight because it's not in this report. We fell into the trap of making a report for ourselves and not for others. But the FOTC is the Future of the City Forum. It should be FOT, Future of the City Forum. Yeah. Okay, CUP is what? What is that? Anybody know? See, there we go. You know what a CUP is? The council. Again?
It's what you wear in baseball.
Yeah, it's what you wear in baseball. Thank you. It's a conditional use permit. And then there's a thing called a plan unit development, which is a way of looking at zoning in a different way to be able to accommodate the needs of a particular project. So you'll see those abbreviations used in the report. The role of the planning commission is essentially to recommend to you as a council actions that you can take and to give you the background, and in particular to hold hearings so that you don't have to hold hearings and flesh out and get out information from the community. I'll talk more a little bit about that. So essentially we're a recommending body except for one thing, and that deals with the Future of the City Forum. The Future of the City Forum is now the responsibility of the Planning Commission. So we plan for it, we carry it out with the staff. As a part of that, we have a community survey that is put out, so we have good information for you and for us to work with. And of course, we're responsible for the event, which last year was in late October on Saturday, the 26th. There'll be another one this year, probably about the same time of year. And I would encourage all community members and of course, city council members to attend. What do we do this year? Well, we had, on the second page, you'll see we had 4 public hearings. And again, in a public hearing, we do not make a decision. We then make recommendations to you as a council. One of them dealt with the floodplain issue and with what we call the B districts, which are business districts in our zoning plan. Another was the site plan and a conditional use permit amendments that were made for Oak Terrace. And if you went down on South 4th a little further, just past the corner of 4th and Pearl, you'll see where they're doing some work in the back area. And that had to do with us making a recommendation to the council and the council approving that conditional use permit so they can add housing for senior residents in our community. Another one of our hearings dealt with a review of the industrial districts. We have 2 industrial districts in our zoning plan. Now, by the way, all those I mentioned so far, nobody showed up for the public hearing. Really kind of strange, but they're really, a couple of them would be ones you wouldn't expect it. The next one, however, think of this room with all the people that are here and double it or more. We had a lot of people at the next one. It had to do with the Ridge Road development. And the issue there was the site plan and whether or not there'd be a planned unit development that would be approved for the 35 potential units there. Our role was to approve that, again, to recommend that you as a council approve the planned unit development, and also we approved the preliminary plat, again, recommending it to you, and then you recommend it, and then there's another couple of steps after that for you. So that's what we did. That's kind of the major part of our business for the year. I do want to commend our staff that helps us do these things on the Planning Commission. Justin Nielsen is our primary person. Joe is the administrator. Lindsay as our city clerk also assists us. And then we have a contracted staff person. He doesn't work in the building here. He is a contract with us. His name is Nate Sparks, and he is our expert in planning and doing things like comprehensive plans. Looking forward, you can see on the second page the things we'll do next year. They're pretty much the same as this year. We're going to continue to review our zoning and comprehensive plan. We will look at the comprehensive plan because it's a 2040 plan. It's been around since 2016-17. So it's time for us again to look at that and see if there are any changes that need to be made. When we do our work as a planning commission, we're looking at the comp plan, the comprehensive plan, which guides us as a city for the future, making sure that we're being consistent with that. And then, of course, we look at our zoning regulations, our ordinances, and if they need to be changed, we can recommend that, but we cannot change them. So with that, I think I'll conclude my report, and I thank you for your time. I thank you for the work that you do as you follow up on what we do, but it's our privilege to do those hearings for you, our responsibility. And frankly, I'm delighted with the group we now have because they're doing a fine job of giving you good information. And our staff, of course, coaches us on how to do that. Any questions, Mr. Mayor, or anybody else?
Thank you, Mr. Corbin, for your presentation. And we appreciate everything you do and the planning commission does for this community. Your planning commission does help this council navigate through the changes this community goes through. So we appreciate everything you do.
If I may, for our scouts and our guests, I think it's important to realize in city government, we have these different ways of doing things so that we get a lot of people involved doing it the right way. And this is a classic example of how a group that can meet and make recommendations assists the council and makes it a better community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and have been made available to the city council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. These items have been enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event this item will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. At this time, I'll have Mr. Roby summarize some of these items for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 6 items on tonight's consent agenda. The first is approval of city council minutes from the January 6th, 2025 organizational meeting. Second is approval of city council minutes from the regular city council meeting of January 13th, 2025. Third, approval of disbursements through today. Included in those disbursements are 4 items over $25,000. The first to Goldman Bank, 2025 Street Utility Improvements Project, $79,262.50. Second to Neo Water Treatment LLC, that's for our FX 300 wastewater chemical, $37,833.70. Third to Advanced Engineering for our SCADA controls project design engineering, $36,128.17. And finally to Renesas Corporation, first payment for the outdoor pool resurfacing PVC liner, which will be installed in the summer of 2025, $30,808.75. Item D is approved resolution R 2025-010, establishing the 2025 biosolids rate calculation. Item E, approve a citizen appointment to RPAC, that's Ms. Darla Frost. And item F, approve the surplusing of various city equipment and materials.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Roby? By the way, Ms. Darla Frost, I think she's an excellent pick for our pick, so that'd be wonderful. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. So moved. Thank you, Councilmember Huntington. Councilmember Schleter seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. We're going on to public comment. I don't know if we have nobody signed in tonight, so we'll move right into the city administrator's update. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to remind everyone on council and the community that on January 30th, it's later this week, Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. at the Center American Legion, Sueur County is hosting a public forum on its Vision 2050 comprehensive land use plan. I've gotten a few questions about this from the broader community, and everyone's encouraged to attend at the Legion. Again, Thursday the 30th at 6:30 p.m. And just if there's any questions on that in general, they can certainly contact me, but the county is running this project. This is a Sueur County project. We certainly will be involved from a city perspective, but I also don't have all the answers to that, so we might direct them to the county. We got an update on this in the EDA meeting earlier this evening, but we continue to work with the buyer of the Park Elementary School property on the future development for that site. No major updates to report, but I've been running some site plan projections. We had an airport capital improvement project meeting last week to discuss future projects out at the airport. This will come up later in one of the agenda items, but the raised grant that the city has is preparing to submit for, and council previously provided their approval to for application, has been renamed the BUILD program, which is Better Utilizing Investments to Leverage Development program through the U.S. Department of Transportation. The application did change a little bit just this last Friday. So kind of an 11th hour change from the feds on that. So we're working closely with our team to finalize the application before it's submitted later this week. We're expecting to have a personnel budget committee meeting next week. I'll likely send out a survey, if not tonight, tomorrow to personnel budget committee members. The Sueur County officials meeting is this Wednesday night, 6:30. I have the pleasure of probably seeing some of these Boy Scouts next Friday, the 7th. Some of you will have career day, so I encourage you to sign up for my session because I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. The morning of February 7th. City Council's next meeting will be Monday, February 10th, and that's all I have to.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Anybody have any questions regarding his report? Thank you. Otherwise, we'll move into the regular agenda if we may. Starting off with 8A Resolution R 2025-006, stating within the municipal limits. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have City Engineer Corey Bienfang joining us tonight for several of these items. I don't know that I'll necessarily call him up to the podium unless he feels so inclined. But Corey's been involved in this one. So back on December 9th, 2024, City Council approved the plans for the 2025 Street and Utility Improvements Project, better known as the North 4th Street and Cathcart Street project that we look to kick off here in 2025. As council will recall, as part of that project, the city was awarded a $1.5 million LRIP grant through MnDOT, the state aid office specifically. The state aid office does require not only the approval of both plans, but approval of those plans in the context of having state aid dollars apply specifically to municipal roadways. So we've received state aid dollars before for projects, the CASA 22 or CASA 36 project specifically. And of course, the county was in charge of that, and it's a county road. We're not a state aid city, so the county is going to run this project. And the state aid office requires that city council grant approval of the plans in the context of state aid dollars applying to a municipal roadway. So this resolution was guided by the state aid office, and we are thus presenting it this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Anybody have any questions for him regarding this? Kind of a formality. With that, I will entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2025-006. Thank you, Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Sullivan. Seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to resolution R 2025-007, the Sueur complete street policy. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Bienfang, please feel free to chime in if I miss anything here. So the comprehensive plan, which Mr. Probin referenced earlier, and the downtown master plan both reference what's known as a complete streets policy, or the idea of complete streets. Probably this is the concept of a street itself should not just be for the benefit or planned for the benefit of vehicular traffic, but should consider all forms reasonably of multimodal transportation, bikes, pedestrians, other smaller electric vehicles such as golf carts, which I will note, it is still not, golf carts are not street legal in the city of Sueur still. That's not on the agenda tonight. But the comprehensive plan does consider it, and the complete streets policy may consider it. The city has not had a formal complete streets policy by name previously, though it is referenced as a consideration in the comprehensive plan. But I would note that through the last several city projects, up to and including both the Ridge Road development and the North 4th and Cathcart Street project, the city has effectively been practicing a complete streets policy by ensuring that all appropriate crosswalks and signage are in place, that pedestrian facilities are established or bolstered where appropriate. And notably with what a complete streets policy does, other than be a reminder to City Council and to RPAC and to Planning Commission to be mindful of building complete streets when undergoing a project or undertaking a project, is that it can open up some additional grant funding. So there are certain grants, and the BUILD grant, formerly known as the RAISE grant, is one of them, where they would like to see a formal complete streets policy. So the resolution in front of council tonight outlines a complete streets policy, and the request of City Council is to adopt the resolution that would establish the complete streets policy and formalize what the City Council has been practicing for the last 5 or 6 years.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Anybody have any questions regarding this? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2025-007, establishing a complete streets policy for the city of Sueur. Second. Thank you, Mr. Schläger first, seconded by Councilmember Huntington. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to item 8C, resolution R 2025-009, the sewer lining bids and contract award. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the 2025 approved capital improvement project, City Council approved CIP, the wastewater department has been planning a sanitary sewer lining project on the south end of town in the Distal Ridge neighborhood. As part of the project, bids were publicized, 4 bids were received and opened. There is one lowest responsible bidder identified, and that was HydroClean. The bid documentation has been included in your packets. Bid amount was lower than anticipated, and so the aim for city staff would be to maximize the contractor's time in the community and expand the scope of the project to include some additional sewer main. So the resolution in front of council tonight would formally accept the bids and award the contract for the 2025 2025 sewer lining project to HydroClean.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions regarding this matter? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2025-009.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan.
Second.
Councilmember Huntington seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to the first reading of ordinance 612, Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item came to light as city staff and city attorney were reviewing the city's zoning code, specifically the subdivision ordinance, where it comes to security or performance bond for public improvements that are made as part of a development. So when public improvements are proposed as part of a new development or a redevelopment of a property, the city, under city code, has the right to impose a security or performance bond on the developer, so that in the event that the developer does not complete public improvements as part of that project to the city standards. In other words, if city engineer BFAG doesn't give it a thumbs up when it's all said and done, the city can draw on that security and complete the improvements ourselves. And we hope to never have to do that, but we do seek that security as part of any development agreement so that we can have some funds to draw on if the developer doesn't do their part. Currently, the city subdivision ordinance requires developers to put up 150% of the city engineer's cost estimate for the public improvements as security. What we're seeing now more, I would say, typically in cities across the state is anywhere from a 105% to 125% security. That's given just the sheer cost of development now, and also the sometimes problematic world of private financing for developments. So in surrounding communities, we see some whose subdivision ordinance simply says that the city will agree to with the developer to a security that the city council is generally comfortable with, which could mean anything from 0 to 200% in theory. Other cities have 105%, and several cities have 125%. So the recommendation here, so as not to discourage development in our community, would be to modify the ordinance from 150% security to 125% security. And this being the first reading, if approved, we bring back the second reading at the February 10th City Council meeting.
This not only discourages, but probably encourages stimulation of growth, no doubt.
It does, and in full disclosure, the amount of security is not something that's typically looked at right away when a developer is interested. They don't come into town and read our subdivision ordinance and point to that security amount. It typically comes later in the conversation. And so it's more a matter of when we get to the point where city council is looking at maybe a pre-plat, that we don't have a developer that suddenly looks at 150% and decides to back away.
Very good. Anybody else have any other questions regarding this? If not, I would look for a volunteer to read ordinance 612 or accept the motion to waive reading ordinance 612.
Make a motion to waive the reading first.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Sullivan. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to the first reading of ordinance 614, Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Per the information you see in the agenda packet, the EDA, the Sueur Economic Development Authority, has applied to the city for a rezoning of 2 parcels that it owns adjacent to Highway 169. These parcels are both currently zoned B2 for general business. Council may recall that these parcels were zoned B2 in 2023. And for even deeper context, these parcels were split zoned previously, which is something that we like to avoid, where one parcel might have 2 different zoning districts overlaid on top of it. The EDA desires to rezone both of these parcels I1 for light industrial. And for those connoisseurs of our zoning code, they'll note that the difference in use between a B2 district and an I1 district are relatively small. A lot of the things that you can do or construct or operate in B2, you can also in I1 and vice versa. Taking it a step further, the comprehensive plan itself suggests that these properties, these 2 parcels in this area, as part of the North 169 Gateway Focus Area that's referenced in the comprehensive plan, could be zoned either B2 or I1, which is part of the reason why they ended up being split zoned in the first place back in 2016. So the EDA, as the applicant, apply for the rezoning. The first step in the rezoning process is consideration by the planning commission. The planning commission met, considered the application, conducted a public hearing, and the recommendation of the planning commission was to approve the rezoning. Rezoning has to come in the form of an ordinance because it involves modification of the zoning map, which is a part of the city code. So ordinance 614 tonight in front of city council would approve a rezoning of these two specific parcels owned by the EDA from B2 to I1.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Anybody else have any questions for him regarding this matter? Otherwise, I'll entertain, anybody who wants to read this, or I'll entertain a motion to waive this first reading of ordinance 614.
The move that we waive the first reading.
Thank you, Councilmember Schleter, second of Councilmember Williams. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to resolution R 2025-008, Ridge Road final plot. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ridge Road has been on a lot of city council agendas recently, and we are approaching the end of this phase of city council's involvement in this particular development. Mr. Krogman referenced it earlier. This is a very hot topic at the Planning Commission in 2024. And at this point, as Noel said, the next actions are in city council's hands. Planning Commission has effectively exhausted their responsibility as part of this development. And the next two steps, these next two agenda items fall squarely on city council's table. As council will recall from the December 9th, 2024 meeting, city council was asked to consider approval of the preliminary plat for the subdivision related to this 35 single-family home development at the edge of Ridge Road in Sueur. City council did approve that preliminary plat in December. And in part of the preliminary plat approval is per city code, if the final plat application generally aligns with the preliminary plat, city council is obliged to consider approval of the final plat. As part of the preliminary plat, the developer, in this case, Workhorse Land Development, which is operating under the name Ridge Road Sueur, had a year to apply for final plat. They are eager to begin work and have already applied for the final plat, which does not require planning commission consideration. The staff and city engineer, city planner have reviewed the final plat fairly exhaustively. Mr. Beekman, I think, would agree, and find that the final plat is consistent with the preliminary plat. The final plat itself is contingent upon 5 specific items. One is that the development itself generally adheres to the plans that are dated January 2nd, 2025. Number 2, that the city engineer requirements that have been provided to the developer are met. Number 3, that a development agreement is executed. And agenda item 8G, which council will consider next, is just that development agreement. 4, that park dedication as presented for the trail loop around the stormwater basin is provided and constructed. And finally, that the final plat itself is recorded by the developer within 90 days of approval. I'm sure we'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Roby? Anybody have any questions for city engineer Beanfang? Mr. Beanfang, we at peace with all this?
We are.
Thank you. Thank you. A little reassurance is good.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. If not, I will entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2025-008, approving the final plat for the Ridge Road development.
So moved. Second.
I think Councilmember Huntington was first, Councilmember Schleter seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it.
I'm opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry, we had one opposed.
I'm opposed.
Make note that Councilmember Smith, I'm sorry, I was gonna say Nelson. Smith was opposed to the resolution. Thank you. Moving on. Item 8G, which is the development agreement with Ridge Road. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As mentioned a moment ago, this is part of the final plat or associated with the final plat that was just approved by City Council. Ridge Road, Sueur has applied for final plat. It's contingent upon the execution and recording of a development agreement. The City Council has discussed and considered before a development agreement, lengthy as it is, outlines all of the rights and responsibilities, not only of the city, but also the developer under the construction of all the public improvements and the development of the property into 35 single-family homes. And that's effectively what this development agreement is. The agreement that's drafted by the city attorney at the time of sending out this memo to an agreement with City Council for review, the developer had verbally agreed to the terms. That's before the EDA meeting started tonight. I received a signed copy of the development agreement from the developer themselves. So the agreement has been executed by the developer, would be recorded against the property, and I can certainly answer any questions that council members may have on the agreement itself.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Any council members have any questions regarding this agreement? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the execution of a development agreement with Ridge Road Sueur LLC in substantially the same form as draft presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Schleter.
Second.
Councilmember Williams seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. Councilmember Smith. Thank you. Moving on to reports, items of appreciation. Councilmember, this is your opportunity to share what's going on with your commissions, what's going on in your community. And as always, we start with Councilmember Huntington.
Thank you. Two things. First of all, thank you guys for showing up today. I appreciate it. To let you know, there's 2 Eagle Scouts here up in the council, myself and the mayor, our former Eagle Scouts. But thank you for coming tonight. Last Thursday, I had a MRVT meeting, my first one in a long time. The standard stuff, planning for the next year, what we're gonna do. I was elected chairman of the group. And I'd like to also thank Marvin for being chairman of the MRVT for many, many years. Thank you for your service there, Marvin. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Huntington. Moving on to Councilmember Schleter.
I attended my first EDA meeting tonight. I will defer to Councilmember Sullivan to report on anything that happened there tonight. Upcoming, got a Region 9 tour of the bio plant tomorrow morning, Sueur County officials meeting Wednesday in Montgomery, and community forum on the Sueur County comprehensive plan on Thursday in the center.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
Yes, I attended 2 meetings last week. I attended the MRVT meeting and the Housing Development HDA meeting. I've been learning quite a bit, and I'm very happy to be here again. I'm learning a lot.
Good. Thank you. Councilmember Sullivan.
One thing I have tonight is we got an update from our CETA staff at EDA in regards to a business challenge that we're gonna try and roll out hopefully sometime this year. Just trying to attract new businesses to town. So working through that plan.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams.
I had an HRA meeting last week, hospital board meeting tomorrow. And I just want to commend the Boy Scouts for being here, and the scouting program is a good program. Hang in there, guys. It's worthwhile. You'll use it all throughout your life. No, you don't think so right now. So thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I have nothing to share tonight, other than I'd like to get introduced to the Boy Scouts. If you guys don't mind standing up, all the Boy Scouts. That way, guys, I appreciate it. Let's start from my left and go to the right. What's your name?
Mitch Mercier.
Okay, what rank are you?
I am first class.
First class. And the gentleman, the burgundy t-shirt?
Yeah, I'm white, right?
Life,
I'm William Sutherland and I'm life rank.
life,
I'm Logan Jess from Life Rank.
I'm Leo Miller and I'm second class rank. Brennan Fetzer, second class.
Reese St. Pierre, I'm second class.
wonderful. We appreciate you guys being here. We want to. Hope to see you again sometime. With that, I have nothing else to share. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor?